Hello, my name is Lorray, and I give commentary on whatever I feel like talking about. Today, I'd like to talk about the series Them on Amazon Prime. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but one of the executive producers is Lena Waithe. I know she's not the only one, but that's the name that was behind it. But people who know me know that I really don't watch TV because I feel like everything is the same, everything is predictable, and I'd rather do something else than watch TV, like do an activity or I don't know, be on TikTok or something. But like, yeah, I don't really watch TV, but this show, the previews of it really captivated my attention only because a lot of people were trying to say that it was like Lovecraft Country and that's why they didn't want to watch it. But I feel like the trailers gave the show absolutely no justice, and I understand why people felt that way. But just to get into it, I really wasn't sure if I was going to watch it because I feel like every movie or show with black people has to be about black struggle. And it doesn't always have to be that way. There are people who have careers. You know what I'm saying? There are people who, rose up from the ashes. We're not all still struggling. You know what I'm saying? I understand why you want to talk about it, but, talk about something positive. I get it. I'm one of those people who feels that way. But I just had to watch it. So, in a nutshell, a black family, the Emery family, moves from North Carolina to Compton, California in order to escape the Jim Crow South. They quickly realize that Compton is just as bad, or if not worse. Now, the series documents the first 10 days of their move to Compton. The husband, father, Henry, takes on a job where he has to deal with microaggressions from the start, of course. He's an engineer, but when he goes for his first day of work, the secretary assumed that he was working in the kitchen. So, that's one example of what goes on and how this story progresses. Now, Lucky is the wife, and she is a teacher. She mentions it a few times, but she decides to be a stay at home mom. And as soon as they move in, they're met with the whole entire neighborhood watching their every move, literally, sitting outside their house as they do regular activities. And that's what I be talking about when I say that black people really be minding their black ass business and white people just don't like it. So they sit in front of their home and blast music, talk bad about them, and eventually they poison their dog, which leads to Lucky pulling out a gun out on the housewives and threatening them. And of course, the police is called, but luckily for Lucky, they let her off the hook, basically. Not really, but basically. But that's as far as I'll go as far as the plot, just to show you. Like, that's not really a big part, so I'm not really giving much away when I tell you about that. But this whole show just kind of took me through a whirlwind of emotions and kind of confused me at some points. But as the show progresses, I guess you can start to understand what it's really about. Although there are a few subplots that I feel like they could have taken out. They had no purpose in the show. Not only are Lucky and Henry having trouble like processing their trauma from back in North Carolina, they're still dealing with it in Compton, and they're dealing with a supernatural force that doesn't want them there as well. So it's kind of I guess you can say that's why they kind of compared it to Lovecraft Country, just because the supernatural aspect, but it takes a different turn. It's not the same at all. You really can't compare it. But it kind of like there's a couple backstories in there, and that'll help you better understand the supernatural forces. But on the surface, we see a black family in an all white neighborhood dealing with racism. But of course, that racism is much deeper. This is stuff that they've been dealing with, stuff that they've believed about black people for generations and generations. Just like black people were migrating from the South, so were white people. So, of course, they're still going to have those same views because that's what they came from. So no matter where you go in the US, and I think that's one of the messages here, no matter where you go, that racism is going to find you, you know? And I'd also like to point out the daughters for a moment because they play a big role in the series. They both attend all white schools and they're, of course, made fun of for being black. They're both very intelligent, but that's overshadowed by the fact that they're black and everybody on that side of town hates black people. It just is what it is. I want to say so much more because it's a good show, but I really don't want to give it away. But you will see how the beauty standard has changed and how, you know, black people are not seen as beautiful. And, you know, it makes you want to be white. You know, they put a little bit of that in, and that's what I liked about it. They put that in there a little bit. What I will say is that the trailers just did not show, it didn't do the show any justice. And that's really one of the reasons why I didn't want to watch it at first, you know? Aside from what I said about, like, you know, black struggle being seen too much, you know? But, like, honestly, I've heard so many stories of black people leaving the South and migrating to California during the 40s and 50s, and, like, people think it was all roses and berries, you know? But this show just gives a different perspective, one that I'm sure many people on the West Coast can relate to. What's crazy is my mom is actually from North Carolina and she moved to California about 30 years ago, but she's back in North Carolina now. But yeah, and my dad grew up in Compton. That's how they met because they're both in California at the time. But um, his mom, my dad's mom and grandmother are actually from Louisiana. So they were the ones who came to California, and that's how he was born in California. But what's crazy is my mom hasn't really told me many stories about, you know, racism, microaggressions, things like that, because I think it was more normalized. But my dad often would tell me, and still does, about racism in Compton and the surrounding cities in like the late 60s, early 70s, you know? And I remember he was telling me that, you know, before black people got there, it was an all white city, you know? George W. Bush actually lived there as a kid. But this show does help you understand what happened with the city of Compton and most quote unquote urban cities, because what happened is it's just crazy. Like, because so many black people were coming into these cities, the white people felt like they were forced to move out because they tried to do everything to kick them out and it wasn't working. The black people was like, nah, fuck that, we staying. And because of that, you know, white people moved out, you know? I don't mean to get off topic or anything like that, but I felt like it was just, I just had to put that in there. You know what I'm saying? And like me being from Long Beach, I can see that as well. You know, Long Beach is an actual, it's a surrounding city of Compton. It's like right on the border of Compton. You drive from Long Beach to Compton, you get there. But anyway, one thing about me, like I've seen that, just me being 30, you know, I've seen stuff in Long Beach. Like there's certain areas, certain bars and stuff that you can't go to. If you're black, you know, they enforce what they call a quote unquote dress code, but really any type of attire that a black person would wear, you can't wear that in that club. So that tells you the type of people that they don't want in their areas, you know? And then also, you know, you can go to certain areas of like, I'm gonna say like the Bixby area, and there's skinheads that live there. Go to Orange County, people really be looking at you like, what are you doing here? I don't want to get off topic, like I said, but back to my point. I did enjoy the series. I'm looking forward to the next season, but like I said, it's an anthology series, so like there's no more development from these characters. You know what I'm saying? And like, but there's so many things you could take from it. One is that, of course, racism is everywhere in different forms. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, no matter where you go, you go and encounter some type of racist stuff as a black person. Two, a lot of black people have trauma that's almost impossible to heal from, especially when the stuff that caused you that trauma is still relevant today, i.e., microaggressions, slavery, segregation, the prison system, police brutality. Like everything that goes on in America today is the same stuff that was going on 100 years ago, 200 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, you can't heal from it if it's still happening. And I think that's one of the messages that was brought up here in this series as well. And then three, black people are the most unbothered people on the planet Earth and still get talked about and abused. The Emery family did nothing but mind their business, and they were harassed repeatedly just for being black. They wasn't doing nothing. They wasn't harassing nobody. And then on top of that, when they retaliated, they were the ones seen as unruly. That irritates me because it's true. We be minding our business, y'all harass us, and then when we clap back, then we get in trouble. For what? Anyway, if I were to rate this show, I would probably give it like a 7 out of 10 because certain parts were a little bit confusing, like I said, and the trailer gave a horrible depiction of the show. And then, like I said, too many subplots, stuff that's going on in between. Like, why did you do that? There was no point for you to even mention that. Why did that white lady? It's a certain white lady that you're gonna hate from the start, and there's a subplot about her, and I just don't understand it. They should have just took it out. But overall, it was a solid series. I think that you have to watch it for yourself in order to understand my opinion. You have to just get your own opinion. I wouldn't say not to watch it. I wouldn't say that it was a bad series or anything like that. You just have to get an opinion for yourself, and I'm sure you'll understand. But like, I would watch the next season. I would. Especially, no, let me just put this in here. Okay. So with me, the only way that I want to see a black struggle movie, meaning like 12 Years a Slave, hell, Antebellum, you know what I'm saying, Fruitvale Station. I want to see the real, because a lot of times the reason why I don't like the slave movies is because they only show like, oh, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, but like RAPE, like they show us getting beat and stuff like that, and picking cotton and singing and shit, and some people escaping. But no, like really, really, really go into detail. I've read about black women's or black people's hair being shaved and put into couch cushions and chair cushions. Talk about that in the movies. Talk about the fact that you would skin them alive and make leather out of their skin. Talk about how you use the babies as gator bait. Talk about the real. And then, like, I enjoy the jump scare because the jump scare is really real. Like, you think, man, I can make the scariest damn black struggle movie. It'll be a horror movie and a traumatic story to where you would never, ever, 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 ever want to watch nothing again. And I'm telling you, people would have a different opinion about what went on because they know. But anyway, yeah, overall, I liked it. I did. I liked it a lot. I won't say a lot, but it spoke to me because, like I just mentioned, the stuff that I would want to see from a black struggle movie. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, you know, this did that for me a little bit. Like I said, some subplots, you could have just left them out. There's no reason to talk about that. For what? For what? But one thing I do like is there was no white savior. No white savior. At all. No, well, I think the milkman. But yeah, like that's, yeah. Overall, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. But thank you for watching, and if you'd like to hear my opinions more often, please subscribe and turn your notifications on. Thank you.